Welcome back with a smiling face. Important note before starting, if you are a fan of audio stories, then our Patreon account is the best platform for you. Join us on Patreon for the best audiobooks ever. Denied by My Companion. Episode 2. Chapter 13 to 25. Logan POV. She was looking down at her hands and she was not answering me. I was going crazy. You could have been seriously hurt. Andrew said, frowning. Why didn't you tell me you hadn't been sleeping? I am fine, she said quietly. I growled loudly. 2 broken ribs is fine. She looked up at me and frowned. Beta Andrew. Amy said, and I turned to look at her. I asked Emma to come over to my house tonight. I will take care of her. No, Andrew and I said at the same time. She is coming home with me. Andrew said. When she is better, she can stay with you, Amy. Amy nodded and looked down at her feet. Why? Emma asked, looking at her brother. I will be fine, Andrew. I said no, he said strictly. You are hurt, and I am not letting you out of my sight. She opened her mouth to argue, but Andrew beat her to it. Don't even try, he said. I am not changing my mind. She sighed and started getting up. She winced in pain and laid back down. I will carry you home, Emmy. Jacob said and started walking toward her bed. I growled loudly, startling everyone. Don't touch her, I said, glaring daggers at Jacob. Logan, Andrew started to speak, but I raised my hand, stopping him. I will carry her, I said in my alpha tone. All of them lowered their heads in submission. They can't go against my alpha command. I walked over to the bed and took Emma in my arms. Goddess, she fit perfectly. The tingles and sparks I felt were addicting. I never wanted to stop feeling this way. Goddess, I wanted this woman. But I couldn't have her. I needed to think about my pack. Her scent was mixed with Jacob's, and Leon was going crazy inside my head. I was not doing well, either. I wanted to rub myself all over her. I wanted to make my scent the only one on her. I wanted to let them know who she belonged to. I walked out of the doctor's office, everyone else was following behind me. I kept looking down at Emma, but she didn't look up at me once. She kept her gaze down on her hands. Goodbye, Emmy, Jacob said when we walked outside. I will call you later, I growled. Bye, Jake, she said with a big smile. I wanted her to smile like that at me. You tossed that opportunity away, Leon growled at me. I ignored him and waited for Amy to say goodbye to Emma. When she did, I started walking toward their house. Andrew was right beside me the whole time. He kept glancing at Emma, but she didn't look up at either of us the entire time. While I was walking, I couldn't help but notice how light Emma was. Is she eating enough? A few minutes later, we reached their house. We should have taken the car, but both Andrew and I ran toward the training grounds without thinking. Sienna was inside, waiting for us. As soon as we walked inside, she ran toward me. Oh, my goddess, Emma, she said with tears in her eyes. What happened? Emma didn't respond. She didn't even look at her. She kept her gaze on her hands, but I saw she was grinding her teeth together. She had an accident while sparring. Andrew answered instead of her. She has 2 broken ribs. Oh, Sienna said. Don't worry. We will take care of you. No, Emma said and raised her head to look at Sienna. You won't be taking care of me, Sienna. I can take care of myself. Emma, I started to speak, but she cut me off. Take me upstairs, Logan, she said, not looking up at me. I clenched my jaw but did as she said. I walked upstairs to her room and placed her on the bed. Her scent here was amazing. I could breathe it in forever and it wouldn't be enough. When Andrew entered the room, she began to get up. What are you doing? I asked and grabbed her. I want to take a shower, she said, pulling away from me. Oh, please, baby, don't pull away from me. I needed to calm down. I nodded and Andrew walked to her closet to grab her a few things. Take a shower and I will make you something to eat, he said, looking at her strictly. I know you have been lying about eating as well. When is the last time you ate? I asked. No wonder she was so light. She hadn't been eating. She looked at us and sighed. My birthday. That was 2 days ago. She hadn't slept or eaten for 2 days. And she decided it was a good idea to train. Goddess, this woman. I will bring you something to eat and I will watch you until you finish the entire thing. Andrew growled at her. She didn't say anything. She took her clothes from Andrew and walked slowly to her bathroom. Andrew and I went back downstairs. I breathed in her scent as much as I could. I will never have enough of it. Sienna was waiting for us downstairs. She looked sad and angry. What's wrong? I asked her as soon as we entered the kitchen. Andrew started to make lunch for Emma. He glanced at Sienna but didn't say a word. I am really sad about what happened to Emma, she said. But I am mad at you, Logan. I raised my eyebrows. Why? She isn't your mate anymore, she said angrily. You rejected her and chose me. You left me here and went running to her. And then you came back in here with her in your arms. How do you think I feel? She is hurt. I growled at her. What was I supposed to do? She has a brother, she yelled and pointed at Andrew. You could have let him go to her. Let him carry her. I clenched my fists. I wasn't going to let another male hold my mate when she was hurt. Brother or not, it wasn't happening. Sienna wouldn't understand. She was jealous of Emma. She loved her, but Emma being my mate and being so close to me was making Sienna insecure. What could I say to make it better? Could I say it was just the mate bond? Sienna, I did choose you. I said through my teeth. But she is hurt. And the mate bond made me go to her. Andrew tensed up at my words, but he didn't turn around or say anything. She sighed and sat down. I can't wait for you to mark me, Logan. You won't feel the pull toward her then. I tensed up. I didn't want that. Goddess, this was the most difficult thing I'd ever had to do and will ever have to do. Leon was growling and whining inside my head. My heart hurt. My whole body was in pain. I just wanted that girl upstairs. But I had to do what was best for my pack. So, I smiled forcefully at Sienna and gave her a little nod. Chapter 14 Rest. Emma POV. When I got out of the shower, I could hear Sienna yelling at Logan. She was telling him that he should have left Andrew to take care of me. I couldn't hear what he said to her, but I didn't even want to. I shut them out completely. He was confusing out of me. First, he rejected me, and then he was all jealous and growling at Jake. What was his plan, anyway? Did he want to take Sienna as his mate and make me be alone forever because he couldn't stand to see another man around me? The most terrifying thing was that he could actually do that. Nobody could go against Alpha Command. He could just order every male wolf to stay away from me and they would have to obey him. I got dressed as carefully as I could. Pain was consuming my entire body. I didn't even know if it is physical or emotional anymore. I sat down on my bed and leaned on the headboard. I heard the front door open and close, and I prayed to the goddess that Logan and Sienna left. A few minutes later, I heard Andrew climbing up the stairs and walking to my room. He opened the door and I saw that he was carrying the food tray. He brought me soup, steak, and vegetables. My stomach twisted inside me. I couldn't eat. Andrew placed the tray on my lap and gave me a stern look. "Eat," he said and sat down next to me. I slowly picked up a spoon and started eating the soup. My belly disagreed immediately. I frowned and stopped eating. "What are you doing?" Andrew growled. "I am sick," I said quietly. "Of course, you are," he sighed. "You haven't eaten anything since your birthday. Your belly is shocked that you are finally eating. Well, let's not shock my belly even more," I said and pushed the food tray away. Andrew growled loudly and pushed the tray back. "You will eat, Emma. Don't push me. You need to take a painkiller, and I am not giving you one on an empty stomach." I sighed and picked the spoon back up. I ate about a half of what Andrew brought up for me, and after convincing him I was full and would burst if he made me eat more, he finally moved the food tray away. He gave me a painkiller and a glass of water. "Why didn't you tell me you were having trouble sleeping?" he asked me, taking the cup away and placing it on my nightstand. I shrugged. "I don't know. You should have told me," he said. I looked at him and sighed. I didn't see how he could have helped me. "Emma, you are all that I have in this world," he said seriously. "No matter what is going on between us, you can always come to me with any problem that you are having. You are my sister, and it is my job and my privilege to take care of you. Why don't you believe me about Sienna?" I asked him and looked down at my hands. I didn't care if he got angry. I didn't care if he yelled at me. I had to know. I had to know why she was so important that he always dismissed what I told him about her. It couldn't be just because he thought that I was jealous of their relationship. I was his sister. His family. I should come first, right? I know she was his childhood friend, and he was having a hard time believing she could be like that, but shouldn't he believe me just a little? "Again, Emma?" he asked with annoyance in his voice. "How do you expect me to come to you with my problems, when you don't listen to me when I tell you about her?" I asked and looked up at him. He sighed and ran his hand through his hair. "I just can't believe that what you told me about her is true," he said. "I've known her my whole life. I would have noticed something, Emma. She is very good at hiding it," I said quietly. "Look, I know I spend a lot of time with her," he said and took my hand in his. "But she can't ever take your place. Just because I spend more time with her, doesn't mean she is more important to me. It is because we grew up together and she is closer to my age." Here we go with the jealousy again. I knew that he would say that. I wasn't worried about her taking my place. I was worried about her taking my life away. I pulled my hand away from his and crossed my arms over my chest. He sighed and put his hand on my thigh. "She loves you very much, Em. Give her a chance. I know that this whole thing with Logan complicates things even more, but it is not her fault. Logan made his decision. She will be a great Luna and you will always be able to count on her. We all will." "She is getting sloppy, Andrew," I said, looking right at him. "You will soon see that I am right. I just hoped that I wouldn't have to pay with my life before he did." He sighed and shook his head. "You are tired. Let's just go to sleep, okay?" He got up and walked out of my room. I leaned my head on the headboard and sighed. No matter what I said, he would never believe me. He would always choose her. Logan already did. Andrew came back into my room wearing short sweats. He closed the door and climbed in beside me. What are you doing? I asked. I am sleeping here, he said. Just like when Mom and Dad died, and you couldn't sleep without me. He was right. I had nightmares after they died. I couldn't and wouldn't sleep without him here. It lasted for about a year. The difference was that back then I wanted him here, now I didn't. You don't have to do that. I said. Get under the covers, Emma, he said, and turned off the lamp on the nightstand. It wasn't really that late. It was only 7 p.m. But being December, it was already dark outside, and as soon as he turned the lamp off, my room was completely dark. Don't you have beta business to do? I asked. It is still early. Logan gave me a day off to take care of you, he answered. Get under the covers and sleep. I sighed and did as he told me. I carefully pulled the covers over my body and tried to get comfortable. The painkiller I took was starting to make me numb, and it helped. Andrew took my hand in his and came closer to me. He always used to do that when I was little. I couldn't sleep without his hand in mine. I love you, Em, he said. I love you too. I whispered and let sleep take me. Chapter 15 Pressure. Emma POV. I woke up around 8 a.m. I had to be really tired if I slept over 12 hours. The space next to me was empty. Andrew has probably gone to the pack house already. My ribs were already hurting less. Being a wolf sure was great. I would be as good as new tomorrow. I sat up carefully and noticed a note on my nightstand. Link me when you wake up. I always forgot about mind linking. I wasn't used to it yet. But it was very handy. Andrew? I opened our mind link. How are you? He answered immediately. Good, better already. Where are you? West Border. He said. Pack stuff. Is it rogues again? I asked, slightly concerned. Yes. He said. But don't worry. It is under control. Okay. Be careful. I will, Eat something. We will be home soon. He said and closed our link. I sighed and carefully got out of bed. I walked to my bathroom and did my morning business. I brushed my teeth and took a quick shower. When I came back to my bedroom, Sienna was leaning on my desk with an evil smirk on her face. How does it feel to be helpless, little mouse? She asked. What do you want, Sienna? I asked angrily. I want you to stay away from Logan. She said and walked over to me. I backed away from her until I hit a wall. He is the one who came to me yesterday. I said. I didn't call for him. I don't care, she said, growling. Stay away. Why don't you tell him to stay away from me? I asked and instantly regretted it. She ran the rest of the distance to me and grabbed the left side of my torso. She squeezed, and I screamed in pain. I told you not to disrespect your Luna, she growled. You never listen. She grabbed my hair with her other hand and lifted my face so I could look at her. I felt tears running down my cheeks. My ribs were screaming in pain and my breathing is uneven and fast. You will not be in my way for long, Emma, she said quietly. I have a perfect plan for you. And I can't wait for it to happen. She let go of me and I crumbled on the floor. I sobbed quietly and tried to breathe deeply so the pain would go away. She was going to kill me soon. What should I do? Whom should I tell? Jake and Amy. But I didn't want her to hurt them. Jake would go after her and she could hurt him. No. I couldn't risk that. I couldn't be responsible for that. My mind was a total mess, and I didn't even notice that someone was screaming my name inside my head. I tried to focus on the voice, and I noticed Andrew and Logan trying to mind link me. I focused on my brother. Andrew? Emma. He yelled. Goddess, Emma, what happened? Logan can feel your pain. He was screaming, and my head was hurting badly. It is okay. I slipped and hit the desk in my room. It hurts, but I will be okay. I said, trying to sound calm. I was scared. Why didn't you answer our link immediately? He growled. The fall kind of shocked me. And I am still getting used to mind linking. I didn't even notice you were trying to talk to me. I said. Okay, I will be home soon. Stay in bed. And talk to Logan. Just to tell him you are fine. He is driving me crazy. He said and closed our link. I sighed and opened my link with Logan. Alpha? I said. Goddess, Emma. He yelled. That hurt. Are you okay? Andrew told me what happened. And why are you calling me Alpha? Goddess, his voice was like a melody. As soon as I heard his voice, my ribs started hurting less. I am okay. Thank you for checking up on me, Alpha. I said, trying to keep it formal. To you, Emma, I am and always will be Logan. He said. I cut our mind link. I couldn't bear to hear his voice in my head anymore. It hurt my heart too much. I got off the floor slowly. My ribs felt better this morning, but now they hurt even more than yesterday. Maybe she broke them again. I walked to my desk, where Andrew had left my painkillers, and took 2 pills from the bottle. I took a cup from my nightstand and went to the bathroom to fill it with water. After I took the pills, I laid down on my bed and closed my eyes. Maybe I could sleep again. There was no way that I was going downstairs. That was probably still here, and I didn't need her to attack me again. A few minutes later, I heard the front door open and close. 2 sets of heavy footsteps walked upstairs and into my room. I opened my eyes and saw a worried Andrew and Logan standing in front of me. Andrew walked over and sat next to me. Let me see, he said and pulled my shirt up. Logan growled when he touched me. Really? Even my brother? I didn't even look up at him, and Andrew ignored his growl. It is bruising again, he said. When I checked you this morning, the bruise was mostly gone. We should take her to the clinic. Logan said. I looked up at him. No. I am fine. It will heal again. Why did you get up? Andrew asked me and pulled my shirt down. You should have waited for me. I had to go to the bathroom. I said. It was an accident. It won't happen again. Andrew and Logan frowned at me. Do you think you will be able to attend a formal dinner tomorrow night? Logan changed the subject. Yes. I should be okay by then. I nodded. Who is coming? Alpha Drake of the Blood Moon Pack. Logan said. As Beta's sister, you should be there. But maybe you should rest. No, I shook my head. I will go. I will be fine. Logan nodded and turned to Andrew. Stay in today, he said. Take care of her. If I need you, I will mind link you. Are you sure? Andrew asked. Yes. Logan nodded. She is more important than work right now. If anything comes up and I need your help, I will link. Don't worry. Thanks man. Andrew said. Logan started walking to the door. He turned to look at me before he left. If you need me, mind link me, please Emma, he said. I will see you tomorrow. I nodded. Goodbye, Alpha. He looked at me with a sad expression. It's Logan. I didn't respond. He sighed and walked out of my room. Andrew walked out behind him, and I heard them talking about the dinner with Alpha Drake before Logan walked out of our house. I sighed and closed my eyes. Chapter 16 Preparations, Part 1. Logan POV. Is everything ready? I asked Andrew while looking at my calendar on my phone. Alpha Drake should be here in a few hours. Yes, he said. Servants are fixing the table as we speak. Patrols? I asked, not looking up. I have increased patrol on all borders. Andrew said. I've talked to Lewis, and our best warriors are on standby if anything should happen. If the Rogue King finds out about the purpose of Drake's visit, he will attack. I growled and looked up at Andrew. I thought about that. Andrew said calmly. That is why we will not have the meeting here. I was thinking of the interrogation room down in the cellars. It is soundproof. It is the safest room in the pack house to discuss such a delicate matter. By the way, we should really soundproof our offices. This was the reason why Andrew was such a great beta. He always thought ahead, and I could always be sure he would come up with a great solution to any problem. I chuckled and nodded. I will put it on the calendar. I stood up and walked to the window. Packhouse workers were coming in and out, carrying all the necessities for the dinner tonight. Great thinking about the interrogation room, Andrew. I said and turned around. Nobody can hear us. We can't risk information leaking out. He nodded with a serious expression on his face. I know. We can't risk anything. We need to find out what that wants. I want to stop him and rip his throat out. When it came to the rogue problem, no wolf was more invested than Andrew. He had been searching for information and coming up with ideas to deal with rogue attacks better than any other pack member. Rogues killed his mother and father. He wanted revenge. I wanted it too. My father died as well. But I think Andrew was so invested because of Emma. He hated rogues because they took Emma's parents. He was practically an adult when they died, but she was a child, and she lost two of the most important people in her world. Andrew did a great job raising her, but he knew that she missed their parents. He couldn't replace them completely. We will find out and we will end it for good, man. I said and sat back down. He smiled and nodded. How is Emma? I asked the question I wanted to ask since I saw him this morning. It was killing me that I couldn't be with her. I haven't seen her since yesterday, and I already missed her so much. I knew that I shouldn't. But I did. And I really couldn't help myself. She is okay, he said and sighed. Her ribs are still a bit sensitive, but she is much better. Amy is with her right now, helping her to get ready. Good. I am glad she is better. I said. We talked about Sienna again. Andrew said. I knew that Emma had a problem with Sienna. And it wasn't just because I had chosen her to be my Luna. She had a problem with her long before that. Andrew told me that Emma complained to him that Sienna was being mean to her and calling her names. But Andrew and I never saw Sienna being mean to Emma. On the contrary, Sienna loved her. She always took care of her and showed nothing but love toward her. I really didn't know why Emma hated her so much. What happened now? I asked him. Same as before, he sighed. I guess it is worse now that you chose her as your Luna. It makes me sad that Emma doesn't like her. I said. Not just because she will be my Luna, but because she is our friend. I know, he said. I agree completely. I love Sienna and I just wish Emma would give her a chance. Maybe we should talk to her about it, I suggested. I don't want other pack members to hear her say something like the other day. Especially after Sienna becomes our Luna. I will have to punish her. The pack law is clear on that matter. And I won't be able to do that. She is my mate. We will talk to her, Andrew said. But give it a few days. She has a lot on her plate right now, and I want to give her some time to accept everything. I nodded. Sure. We will do it when she calms down a bit. Andrew smiled and got up. I am going home to change. I will be back in an hour. I nodded. Don't be late. We have to welcome Alpha Drake together. I won't, he said. See you later. He left my office, and I went back to finishing a few things related to pack business before I had to go and get dressed. Time flew by, and I was pulled away from my work by a knock on my office door. Andrew peeked inside. You are still not dressed, he frowned. Alpha Drake will be here in an hour. I muttered. I lost track of time. Well, hurry up, Andrew said and walked over to my desk. Do you need me to finish something for you? No, man, thanks, I said and stood up. Go downstairs and make sure everything is ready. I'll be down in half an hour. He nodded and we left my office together. He was walking downstairs when I stopped him. Andrew, I called him. Is Emma here? Not yet, he answered, looking up at me. But she will be here soon. I nodded and walked over to my bedroom. I took a quick shower and went inside my walk-in closet to get dressed. I put on my black dress pants, black shoes, and white button-up shirt. I left the last 2 buttons open and rolled up the sleeves. I looked at myself in the mirror and fixed my hair. I looked good. I walked downstairs and made sure everything was ready for Alpha Drake's arrival. Chapter 17 Preparations, Part 2. Emma POV. I was sitting in my room waiting for Amy to come over and help me get ready for dinner tonight. My ribs felt so much better. I still needed to be careful when I moved, but it didn't hurt nearly as much as the first day. Thankfully, I haven't had any more encounters with Sienna since the day she broke my ribs all over again. She hadn't been coming to the house since then, and I had never felt more at peace. Somehow, I knew it wouldn't last long though. I was pulled out of my thoughts by the knock on the front door. I looked at my watch and saw it was only 2 p.m. Amy was coming over at 4 p.m. Who could that be? I walked downstairs and opened the door. Jake was standing there smiling at me. Jake, I said with a big grin on my face. Come in. I missed you. I missed you too, beautiful, he said and walked by me to enter our living room. He sat down on the couch and looked up at me. What are you doing here? I asked and closed the front door. He motioned for me to take a seat on the couch. I walked over and sat beside him. Emma, I need to talk to you about something very important, he said seriously. I sat up straighter and nodded. I want to take you as my chosen mate, he said and took my hands in his. I couldn't say that I was surprised. We have talked about this before. But as soon as he said those words, I felt nervous and sad. Eliza was whining inside of me, telling me that he wasn't our mate, and that we didn't belong to him. She wasn't wrong, but our true mate didn't want us. And not that long ago, I wanted Jake to be my mate. I liked him. But I couldn't shake this feeling that I didn't belong to him. Maybe it was too early. Maybe I needed more time. Jake. I spoke softly. You know I like you, right? I wanted you to be my mate, and I was devastated when we discovered we weren't mates. I do want you as my chosen mate, but it is too soon for me. I need more time, Jake. Why, Emma? He asked with sadness in his voice. I've talked to your brother about this. He said to wait and see if you would find your true mate. You did, and he has done the stupidest thing ever and rejected you. What is stopping you now, beautiful? I sighed and looked down at my hands in his. I am not sure, Jake. I just know now is not the right time. I like you and I want to do this right. I don't want to hurt you. And I would be hurting you if I wasn't 100% committed to you. And right now, I know I won't be. I understand, he said quietly. I love you, Emma. Take as much time as you need. I will be here, waiting. I looked up at him and smiled. I hugged him and he pulled my body to his. Thank you, Jake. I whispered in his shoulder. He let go of me and stood up. I better go. Amy tells me you are going to that formal dinner for Alpha Drake tonight. I nodded. Yes. As Beta's sister, it is expected of me to attend. Amy is coming over to help me get ready. Goddess, Emma, he said, stunned. I was so nervous about talking to you about being my chosen mate that I completely forgot about your ribs. How are you? He asked as he pulled me up and touched my left side gently. I chuckled. It's okay, Jake. I am fine. I'm still a little bit sore, but nothing like that first day. I was so mad at you, he frowned. I don't like to see you hurt, and it angers me that you put yourself at risk. I know. I could tell by the stern look you were giving me the whole time. I said and laughed. Don't do that ever again, he said softly, and pulled me to him. I won't. I promise. I said. He kissed my forehead and let me go. I will see you tomorrow, beautiful, he said and let me go. He walked to the front door and gave me a big smile before he walked out. I ran upstairs to shower before Amy came over. I didn't bother choosing my clothes because I knew that Amy wanted to do that for me. She loved it when I let her dress me up, and I found it amusing. She got all girly and excited and I loved it. I was sitting on my bed, going through my phone, when I heard Andrew walk inside the house. He came over to my bedroom and opened the door. Hey, little one, he smiled. When is Amy coming over? Soon. I said and smiled back. When should I get there? Around 6 p.m. he said. I am going to get dressed and head back. I need to be there early. Okay. I said, just as the doorbell rang. I will let Amy inside. Andrew said and left my room. A few moments later, a very excited Amy came into my room. Emmy, she yelled and ran over to hug me. I am so excited. Let's get started. I laughed and let her do her magic. After about half an hour, I heard Andrew yell goodbye and he left the house. Amy and I chatted the whole time, and I ended up telling her about what happened with Sienna. Oh, goddess, Emma, she yelled and stopped applying my eyeliner. You should tell somebody. I am afraid of what she will do to you. No, Amy. I shook my head. I tried. Andrew just doesn't want to believe me. I just hope Logan will mark her soon so she will stop feeling threatened by me. I don't know, Emma, she said. She is one crazy. I laughed. You are not wrong. But don't worry. I will tell you or Jake if I can't handle her. She eyed me with concern, but she nodded and went back to applying my makeup. Half an hour later, I was done. Amy hugged me and kissed my cheek. She told me repeatedly how hot and beautiful I looked before she had to go home. I looked at myself in the mirror and smiled. She had chosen a strapless black dress with a heart-shaped neckline. It fell just above my knee. It was really tight, and it felt like second skin. I was wearing black heels and a small black purse. She curled my hair in soft waves that fell down to the middle of my back. My makeup was minimal. Thin eyeliner, mascara, and a soft rose lipstick completed the look. She put a small amount of perfume on my neck and wrists. I looked amazing. I had never felt more beautiful than I did right then. I put my coat on, took a deep breath and headed toward the pack house. Chapter 18 Beautiful. Logan POV. Everything was going smoothly so far. Alpha Drake, his beta Josh, and his 5 warriors arrived half an hour ago. I introduced them to my mother, Andrew, Sienna, and my head of patrol, Lewis. We were standing in the living room with drinks in our hands, waiting for dinner to be served. I was with Andrew, Alpha Drake, and his beta Josh. We were drinking my best whiskey and chatting about everything. Your chosen mate is very pretty, Logan. Drake said. I looked over at Sienna, who was standing with my mother and chatting. She was wearing a red dress and red high heels. She was smiling brightly, and I couldn't deny that she really was a pretty she-wolf. I turned back to Drake and nodded. She is. She is very kind. She will be a great Luna. I have no doubt, he said politely. I wish I was as brave as you to take a chosen mate. Well, I had to do what's best for my pack, I said quietly. He smiled and nodded. I noticed that he suddenly looked behind me and gasped, his eyes widening. Goddess, have mercy, he said quietly. Who is that? I turned and looked behind me. What I saw almost made me come right then and there. Emma. She was wearing a black dress that let me see each and every curve of her small body. Her hair looked like silk, and it was touching her lower back gently. Her face was glowing, and I couldn't stop looking at her. I could see her smooth skin, and I wondered what it tasted like. Was it just like her smell? Strawberries and watermelon? My heart was pounding in my chest, and I just wanted to grab her and taste her. Andrew's voice pulled me back. She is my sister, Alpha Drake. Well, Beta Andrew, I don't think I have ever seen a she-wolf as beautiful as your sister. Drake said lustfully. I turned back and narrowed my eyes at him. Leon was growling inside my head, and if he didn't stop staring at her, I was going to kill him. He hadn't taken his eyes off her since she walked in. Calm down, man. Andrew mind-linked me. You don't want to start a war. I want to rip his eyes out. I growled back. I am not letting him touch her. He said. But you need to calm down. I looked over my shoulder and saw that my mom was hugging Emma and smiling brightly at her. They started talking, and my mom led Emma to the bar to get her a drink. Does she have a mate? Drake asked Andrew. I growled quietly. If Drake wasn't busy staring at my mate and drooling, he would have definitely heard me growl. I wanted to kill him. No, she doesn't have a mate, Alpha Drake. Andrew said calmly. But she turned 18 just a few days ago, so she didn't have much time to find him. She has a mate. It is us. Leon was screaming inside my head. I ignored him to listen to their conversation. I have to say I am disappointed she is not mine. Drake said, still looking at her. But she is the first girl that made me think about taking a chosen mate. Who wouldn't want her? I was going to kill him. I clenched my fists and started shaking. Logan! Calm down! Andrew screamed inside my head. All due respect, Alpha Drake, but she should have an opportunity to try and find her true mate. Andrew said calmly. If she doesn't in a few years, I won't have a problem with her taking a chosen mate. But until then, I must tell you no. Drake smiled and looked back at him. I understand Beta Andrew. She is young and she should have a chance to find him. Her true mate is one lucky. I would give anything to have your sister by my side. And I am not just saying that because she is beautiful. I can feel how powerful she is. It would be an honor to have her as my Luna. After his little speech, I was stunned and out of breath. Hearing another man say that he would be honored to have her by his side was making me feel like the biggest fool on this planet. Thank you, Alpha Drake. Andrew said. It is nice to hear you say that about my sister. I turned to look at her again and she was smiling brightly. She was so beautiful it hurt. I needed to touch her. Leon was going to get out if I didn't. I turned back to Andrew and Drake. Both of them were looking at my mate. Drake lustfully, Andrew with love. I need to talk to Emma for a second. Will you excuse me? I said and walked away, not waiting for their response. I walked up to her and my mom. Emma, can I talk to you? She looked at me slightly confused, but she nodded. I walked outside to the back terrace and mind-linked Andrew to tell him not to let anyone disturb us. Don't do anything stupid, Logan. He growled. I ignored him and closed our link. As soon as we were alone and out of sight, I grabbed her and pushed her against the wall. I placed my hands on each side of her head, trapping her. I bent down so I could be face to face with her. She was looking at me, wide-eyed. I could hear her breathing pick up and her body unconsciously moved closer to mine. What are you wearing? I growled at her. A dress, she said softly. Goddess, even her voice was turning me on. I am the only one who should see you like this. I said sternly. Why? She asked me, furrowing her eyebrows. You are not my mate anymore, Logan. There will be another man in my life who will see even more of me. No way. I lost it. I grabbed her and pulled her to me. She gasped quietly, and I could see her eyes widening even more. I leaned down and started kissing her. Goddess, she tasted so much better than I ever thought she would. She moaned, and I took the opportunity to enter her mouth. My tongue touched hers and, goddess, it was a feeling like no other. She was sweet, addicting and mine. She tasted just like strawberries and watermelon, my two favorite flavors. I didn't know how I would ever stop kissing her. My dick was rock hard, and I kept grinding my hips on her to show her what she did to me. I could smell her arousal and it was driving me crazy. She wrapped her hands around my neck, and I moved my hand up and down her body, feeling each and every one of her curves. She was amazing. Leon was jumping up and down. He has never been happier than right now. Everything felt right. She belonged here in my arms. She was mine. Dinner is ready. I heard my mom's voice in my head. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to let her go. I wanted to stay here with her forever. She stopped kissing me and pulled back. We were both panting hard. She was looking at my chest and I tilted her head slowly so I could see her amazing eyes. You are mine. I said softly. No man in this world will ever see or touch what's mine. She didn't respond, but I could see the pain in her eyes. "Dinner is ready," she said quietly and walked away from me. I followed her inside the dining room, and we both sat down at our assigned places. Chapter 19 Alpha Drake. Emma POV. I was still shaking. I could still feel his lips on mine and his hands on my body. Goddess, I never wanted him to stop kissing me and touching me. Nothing will ever feel that good. When I sat down at the table, I could see Andrew eyeing me suspiciously, and I gave him a little smile. I looked around the table and saw that Sienna was giving me a death glare. I kept thinking that everybody knew what we did outside. I took a deep breath to calm myself. Nobody knew. I was being ridiculous. My gaze stopped at a pair of brown eyes I haven't seen before. They belonged to a huge man, and I instantly knew he was Alpha Drake. He was looking at me with a small smile on his lips. "What is your name, beautiful?" he asks me. "It is Emma, Alpha Drake," I said and bowed my head in respect. "Well, Emma, I was telling your brother earlier that I would gladly take you as my chosen mate." "You are stunning," he said. Every wolf in the room turned to look at him. Everybody was shocked that he would publicly claim something like that. Mate issue, and especially chosen mate issue, was a private, family thing. It was discussed behind closed doors and announced publicly when the bond was forged. I looked at my brother. Did he agree? I was terrified. "Calm down, little one. I am not letting him near you. I made it very clear to him." He mind-linked me, and I immediately relaxed. I turned back to look at Alpha Drake, who was smiling brightly at me. Logan was staring at him, and I was pretty sure he would kill him if he continued talking about making me his. "Don't worry, little wolf," Alpha Drake said when nobody else said a word. "Your brother told me you still haven't found your true mate, and he wants to give you the opportunity to find him. But if you don't, please come find me. It would be a great honor to have a Luna as beautiful and powerful as you." Logan was going to lose it. He was shaking, and I was pretty sure that he was seconds away from shifting. For Goddess' sake, he would start a war. Thankfully, Alpha Drake was staring at me, and he hadn't noticed that Logan is ready to kill him. Sienna was glaring between Alpha Drake and me, and I didn't know who she would like to kill first. He wounded her ego when he called me beautiful and powerful. Not that I was, though. I needed to calm Logan before he did something stupid. "Logan, please calm down." I mind-linked him. "I will never be his." His eyes snapped to me and I could see him relax. Thank Goddess. I didn't want him to ruin an alliance because of me. And it was not Alpha Drake's fault. I was an unmated she-wolf. I was fair game. I averted my gaze back to Alpha Drake. "Thank you, Alpha. You are very kind." He smiled brightly at me and, thankfully, changed the subject. I looked down at my plate and started eating. From that moment on, conversation was mainly about pack business. Alpha Drake was interested in the way Logan was running things around here. I could feel Alpha Drake glancing at me all night long. Logan was watching him like he was ready to kill him any second. We had just finished eating dessert, when Luna Gloria called my name. "Emma, honey, can you give me a hand with something, please?" she asked me. I smiled and nodded. "Of course, Luna." I stood up and I could feel Logan's eyes roaming all over my body. Even his gaze left tingles and sparks all over. I walked behind Luna Gloria, wondering why she needed my help. She led me to the bathroom and closed the door behind me. I looked at her confused. Why were we here, in the bathroom of all places? She smiled at me and walked closer. Are you my son's mate? I froze and stared at her. What should I say? It is okay, honey. I know. I can tell, she said and took my hands in hers. How? I asked quietly. He is looking at you like you are everything in his world, she smiled. But then her face scrunched up and she sighed. But I don't understand why he took a chosen mate if he found you. I sighed and told her everything that had happened since my birthday. When I was finished, she was completely annoyed. She growled. He is my son and I love him, but he is a complete and total fool if he rejected you. I smiled and she continued growling. He thinks you are weak, she said through her teeth. And that Sienna is stronger. She will ruin him. Ruin this pack. She is going to be the worst Luna there ever was. I narrowed my eyes at her, confused. You don't like Sienna? Oh, honey, no, she said, looking at me. I can see how fake she is. She is only after power. I tried talking to Logan, but he just didn't want to listen. I sighed. Thank goddess. I was not the only one that saw Sienna for who she really was. I tried talking to Andrew about her as well. I told her. No luck. She shook her head and wrapped me in a hug. They are stubborn. But they will see reason. Logan will come to his senses. He will realize you are what he needs. Not, Sienna. I laughed at Luna Gloria calling Sienna a. She was always so calm and collected. It was necessary. She was a Luna. Calling someone a was totally not a Luna thing. But it was nice to know that she agreed with me. Sienna really was a. He made his decision, Aunt Gloria. I said, still wrapped in her hug. He chose her and there is nothing I or anyone else can do about it. She let me go and took my face in her hands. She looked into my eyes and smiled. He will realize his mistake. Trust me, she said. I didn't know what to say to her, so I just stayed silent. I didn't think that would happen. The pack always came first to Logan, and he thought that she was better for his pack than I was. Emma, we are going home. I heard Andrew's voice in my head. Where are you? I'm in the bathroom. I linked him back. I will be right out. I have to go. I said to Aunt Gloria. Andrew is looking for me. She nodded and took my hand in hers. We walked to the front door. Logan, Alpha Drake, and Sienna were saying goodbye to my brother. When we approached them, Sienna gave me a murderous look. Alpha Drake smiled at me, and Logan was undressing me with his eyes. I walked to my brother, and he took my hand in his. We grabbed our jackets and my purse and went to our car. I fell asleep on the drive home. The last thing I remembered was two strong hands carrying me to my bed. My brother kissed my forehead and covered me up. I fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 20 taken. Emma POV. I woke up feeling really uncomfortable. I groaned and turned on my back, removing the covers from my body. I looked down and saw I was still in my dress. Andrew didn't wake me up to change into my pajamas. I got up and headed to the bathroom. I brushed my teeth and removed my makeup. I took off my dress and hopped under the shower. The warm water soothed me, and I didn't want to leave. Memories of Logan's kiss came rushing back. I felt tingles spread through my body and the area between my legs started throbbing. Logan. Why did you do that? Why did you show me how good it can be when I know I will never have it again? I sighed and turned the shower off. I got out, dried my body with a towel and put lotion on. I went back to my bedroom and got dressed. I can't train yet, but I decided to go to the training grounds, watch Amy and Jake train, and hang out with them after. Just like we always do. I need it. I need a sense of normality. I put on black tights, my favorite grey hoodie, and sneakers. I let my hair fall down freely and put a little bit of lip gloss on my lips. I couldn't hear Andrew. He has probably already left for his meeting. I decided to grab a cup of coffee before leaving. I don't want to eat anything. My appetite is not great still. I walked downstairs to my kitchen and froze as soon as I walked inside. Sienna was there with an evil smirk on her face. She looked behind me and nodded. Before I could turn around, I felt something cold wrap around my wrists. Silver handcuffs. I instantly lost my connection with Eliza. I couldn't use the mind link anymore. Before I could scream, a large hand was roughly placed over my mouth. It is a rogue wolf. I could smell him. They have a unique smell. I looked at Sienna, my eyes wide, my heart beating painfully in my chest. "Well, hello there, little Emma," she said, smirking. "It is time to get rid of you." The rogue wolf chuckled behind me, and I could feel his nose in my hair. "Goddess, Sienna, do we really need to kill her? Can I keep her?" "She smells fantastic," he growled. My stomach twisted and I felt bile rising. "You can't have her until Logan marks me," she said calmly. "He will feel it if you touch her or kill her. After he makes me his Luna, you can do to her whatever you want. After that, kill the little brat." I sobbed and tears started to fall on my cheeks and Rogue's hands. Sienna reached into her purse, pulled the duct tape out and gave it to the rogue. He tore off a piece and taped it over my mouth. It was so quick I couldn't say anything. I couldn't even take a breath. Sobs wrecked my body, but they were muffled by the tape over my mouth. Rogue threw me on the floor, and I fell to my knees. I looked up at Sienna. "I know you are probably thinking that your brother and Logan will look for you," she said with a smirk. "But you are wrong. You see, each time you complained about me or insulted me, you dug your own grave. Rolf here will hit me. He will take you away, and after a few hours, I will mind link Logan, telling him you attacked me and ran away, saying you would rather be a rogue than have me as your Luna. After your apparent hate for me, they will have no reason to doubt my words." She is right. A panicked sob ripped through my body. They will never look for me. They think I hate Sienna and will believe her. I will die. I will never see my brother again. He will think I have become the one thing he hates. A rogue. He will think I became the thing that killed our parents. My heart is breaking in my chest, and I can't breathe. My vision is blurred with my tears. "You should be glad," Sienna said. "Your brother and Logan will be free of you. You are only a burden to Andrew. He was so young, and he was left with you. He hates that. You ruined his life. He told me he never wanted to take care of you. He only did it because Luna Gloria told him he had to. He will be happy you are gone, trust me." I sobbed quietly and lowered my head. I don't want to believe her. My brother loves me. I know he does. She is lying. But it still hurts. What if she is right? Did I really ruin his life? He was so young when he started taking care of me. He couldn't live like a young wolf should. He had a responsibility. Me. And Logan will be thrilled. Sienna continued. He thinks you are weak, but he can't fight the bond and it is making him furious. Now he will think you betrayed him and his pack, and he will hate you. He will finally be mine and you will be gone. I didn't even look up at her. I will die and everybody that matters to me will hate me. I will leave this life being hated by the people I love most. They will never know the truth. Dying doesn't scare me. But being hated by my brother, my only family in this world, does. I wish I could tell him I love him one last time. I wish I could tell him the truth. I wish he wouldn't hate me. But I know he will. I just hope Logan marks her soon. I don't want to be in the presence of this rogue wolf. I don't want to live with this pain for long. I want it to end. Goodbye, Emma. Sienna said coldly. I will take care of your brother and Logan for you. I felt a needle stab my neck and I fell into darkness. Chapter 21 The Meeting. Logan POV. I was sitting in the interrogation room down in the cellars. Andrew was next to me, and we were waiting for Alpha Drake and his beta Josh to arrive. I was nervous about what he had to tell me. I just hoped that, whatever it was, I would have a solution for it. The door opened and Alpha Drake and beta Josh walked in. They sat opposite us, and I walked over to lock the door. Don't disturb us unless it is an emergency. I told my guard that was standing outside the door. Knock 2 times if you need us. Yes, Alpha, he said and nodded. I closed the door and locked it. I walked back to the table and sat down. Okay, Alpha Drake. I said seriously. I am listening. Well, as you know, we managed to capture a rogue that attacked my pack. He started talking. We got him to talk to us and what he said made me really afraid. I gulped and looked at Andrew. Alpha saying that he was afraid was considered weak and we all avoided it. An alpha should be strong, dominating, and calm in dangerous situations. Drake admitting that he was afraid, especially in front of another alpha, was making me nervous. Whatever the reason behind the attacks was, it had to be bad when Drake was afraid and admitting it to me. I looked back at him and nodded. Continue, please. We all noticed that rogues are attacking those packs that have young, unmated alphas, he said, looking right at me. Your pack and mine are one of these packs. I nodded and he continued. Rogue King believes that one of us has a true mate that is very powerful, he continued. Dark Witch told him that there will be a she-wolf mated to an alpha, and they will be the most powerful mated couple. She will make his pack strong, and together they will create a new line of stronger, more powerful wolves. Does she have magic? I asked, confused. No, he said and shook his head. She will be the most charismatic leader ever. People will love her, as they never loved a Luna before. All the traits that a Luna has are more dominant in that she-wolf than any other. She cares more, understands more, and is willing to give herself for her pack more than any other Luna. Her power will come from the love her people will have for her. She is a true Luna. I gulped and looked at Andrew. He was staring at Drake, not breathing. What is his plan? I asked and looked back at Drake. He wants that she-wolf, he answered. His plan is to take her and make her his Luna. He wants to mate with her and produce descendants who will be more powerful, and he thinks he will be able to take over our packs. I was shaking and I couldn't breathe. What if that she-wolf was Emma? Could she be strong and powerful? I never felt any power coming from her. I didn't believe that she was strong. That was the main reason I rejected her and chose Sienna to be my Luna. Neither you nor I have found our true mates. Drake continued. But it makes me terrified that she is in danger, whoever she is. I don't even know her yet, and it makes my blood boil that maybe my mate is the one and that wants her for himself. I don't even know what I would do if I knew who she was. I would probably try to lock her inside my body where I know she would be safe. My hands were shaking, and I couldn't even look up at Drake. I could feel how tense Andrew was. If there was any chance that this was about Emma, he would rip everyone apart. He already hated rogues so much. I completely agreed with Drake. I wanted to leave this room and find Emma. I needed her safe before I lost my mind. Do they know anything about that she-wolf? Andrew asked, his voice trembling. How will the Rogue King know that she is the one? Drake nodded. The rogue we captured said that they were instructed to search for a pure white wolf. Andrew stood up, growling so loud that we had to cover our ears. He grabbed the chair he was sitting on and threw it into a wall. I looked up at him, shocked. What was going on? His reaction could only mean one thing. No, no. He was growling, pulling his hair and hitting every surface his fists could reach. It was only a matter of time before he started hitting us. Drake, Josh, and I stood up and grabbed Andrew. Drake was standing behind him, wrapping his hands around his chest. Andrew's eyes were pitch black, and his canines were on display. Andrew, calm down. I tell him. What is going on? Please tell me that I was wrong. He was breathing heavily and still growling. Josh picked up the chair Andrew threw and placed it back. Drake forced him to sit down, placing his hands on Andrew's shoulders, keeping him seated. Andrew. I called him. Tell me. It is Emma, he growled. She is a pure white wolf. My world stopped spinning. No. Not her. Please, goddess, not her. If anything happened to her. But how? Beta Josh asked, confused. She is not your mate. You told us yesterday that you chose a mate because you couldn't find your true one. Before I could answer him, 2 knocks on the door interrupted us. Alpha, I am sorry. It is an emergency, my guard said. I growled and walked to the door, unlocking it. What? I asked, annoyed. Alpha, your friend Sienna just got attacked, he said. I gasped and turned around to look at Andrew. He got up and walked over to us. What? He growled. I don't know any details, Alpha and Beta, the guard said. She tried to mind link both of you, but as you were in here, she couldn't. She linked Luna and told her what happened. Luna went to help her. They are in the pack house now. I turned to look at Drake and Josh. We will continue this later. I said. They both nodded. Go take care of your Luna. Drake said. Andrew and I walked away quickly. Chapter 22 Rogue. Logan POV. I walked inside the living room and saw Sienna sitting on the couch. My mom was sitting on the sofa with a frown on her face. What happened? I growled and sat beside Sienna. I took her face in my hands and saw that she had a huge wound on her head. It started healing slowly, but it was still bleeding. Andrew sat on the other sofa and looked worriedly at Sienna. Who did this? Andrew asked her. Sienna sobbed quietly. I am sorry, Andrew. Why are you sorry, Sienna? He asked. What happened? It was Emma, she said quietly, looking down at her hands. I froze. What? Emma did this? Why? Andrew growled loudly. What? Why would she do that? I looked at my mom and she was frowning at Sienna. Why was she looking at her like that? I went over to your house to try and talk to her. Sienna started talking. She was leaving to go somewhere, and she got terribly mad when she saw me. She yelled at me that I took Logan away from her. I tried talking to her, letting her know it wasn't my intention to do that, but she refused to listen. She insulted me a couple of times, and I got angry as well. I told her she shouldn't talk to her future Luna like that. She lost it then. She hit me and said she would rather be a rogue than have me as her Luna. Both Andrew and I looked at her with a shocked expression on our faces. Emma wasn't a violent person. I couldn't believe that she would do that. My mom growled quietly, her gaze fixed on Sienna. Where is she? Andrew growled. She ran away into the woods, Andrew. Sienna said, sobbing. I think she crossed the border. I think she is a rogue now. I gasped loudly. No. Andrew was frozen. He was staring at Sienna, and I didn't think that he was breathing. She wouldn't do that. I said. She wouldn't become a rogue. She knows what that would do to Andrew. We have to find her. She couldn't have crossed the border. I rambled on. I didn't think anybody was listening to me. She is missing, a voice interrupted me. I turned around and saw Drake and Josh standing behind us. They were furious. She is not missing, Sienna said angrily. She attacked me, her future Luna, and ran away to become a rogue. Andrew growled loudly and stood up. He started pacing the room and pulling his hair. That doesn't sound like Emma, Drake said. You met her yesterday, Sienna said, annoyed. You don't even know her. Maybe I don't, he growled at her. But I am a great judge of character, and Emma is good and kind, and she would never attack you. I don't believe a word you are saying. I stood up and growled back at Drake. Be careful. Do not speak to my future Luna like that. All due respect, Alpha Drake, but Emma is not as kind as you think she is, Sienna said quietly. She recently insulted me. Ask Andrew and Logan. They heard it. She was right. Emma did yell at Sienna. I wonder what you said to her to deserve it. Drake spat back at her. I growled at him but was interrupted when Lewis walked through the door. Beta Andrew, you called for me, he said. Yes, Lewis. Andrew said quickly. I need you to take every man in our pack and search the entire forest for my sister. Emma, he asked, surprised. What happened to her? We will explain later, I said. I need you to go now. I need you to find her and bring her back. Go outside the territory as well. He paled slightly. He understood immediately that she might be a rogue now. Going outside the pack's territory without a valid reason and Alpha's approval meant that you chose to be a rogue. He nodded and quickly left the house. Drake growled and turned to his beta. Get our warriors. We are going after her. Josh nodded and went outside. I could see his eyes clouding. He was using a mind link to talk to his warriors. Drake turned to me. She is your mate, isn't she? Your true mate? I nodded, and he frowned at me. You rejected her. I nodded again. I couldn't even speak now. My heart was clenching painfully. I couldn't even reach Leon. I didn't want to look at my mom. I could feel her eyes digging a hole in my head. She was furious. Why? He growled. Because she is a weak wolf. Sienna answered for me. Logan knew she wouldn't be a good, strong Luna, and he chose me instead. Drake's eyes widened in shock. Is she serious? Yes. I finally spoke. I thought she wouldn't be a strong Luna. I had to think about my pack, and I decided to reject her. Drake turned to Andrew. His face was a mixture of shock and anger. And you let it happen. Andrew stayed quiet, but I could see his pain. I didn't think that I had ever seen him this distraught. He was clenching his fists, shaking and breathing heavily. If something happened to her, I didn't know how he would react. I didn't know how I would react. I couldn't live without her. She was my world. I needed her here. When Andrew didn't respond, Drake chuckled darkly. You two are incredible. I met her yesterday and I saw what she is better than you ever did. You had the purest, kindest soul right in front of you and you both took her for granted. I just hope she is okay. He stormed out and slammed the door shut. What he said hit me hard. Andrew as well. I could see a tear falling down his cheek. I am sorry she ran away, Logan. Sienna said, looking up at me sadly. But should we really look for her? She decided to become a rogue. Andrew growled. We will find her. She is not and will not become a rogue. Over my dead body. We will find her, and she will be punished for attacking you. But I will not let her make herself a rogue. That is not the punishment I want for her. You should go home, Sienna, my mom said coldly. Go get some rest. You really need it. Thank you, Luna Gloria. Sienna smiled at my mom. Logan, will you assign a guard for me? In case Emma comes back. My mom growled and frowned at Sienna. I looked at her confused. What was wrong with her? Why was she growling and frowning at Sienna? Of course, Sienna. I said. But you don't have to worry. Emma will not hurt you again. She smiled and gave me a kiss on the cheek. She walked over to Andrew and gave him a hug before leaving the pack house. Chapter 23 Who She Really Is. Andrew POV. It had been a few hours since we started our search for her. We found nothing. Not a thing. It was going to get dark soon, and it was cold outside, and I didn't want her to be out here all alone. I was going crazy. Asher was whining and growling, and he couldn't calm down. His sister, his little pup, was missing. I couldn't control him or talk to him. He couldn't manage to form a meaningful sentence. I kept wondering about Sienna. Everything Emma ever said about her was coming back to me. Was Emma telling the truth? Was Sienna lying about what happened today? I hoped not. Because that would mean I let her bully my sister for years and I never realized it, never believed her. That would make me a terrible brother, and I didn't know how I would live with myself if that was true. Logan couldn't sense her wolf, but he knew that she was alive. That was the only thing that was keeping me sane. I didn't know why Leon couldn't sense Eliza. Maybe because of the distance? Their bond wasn't complete, and the distance was making it hard for Leon to find Eliza. Distance shouldn't matter, but it was the only thing that made sense. Logan and I were walking next to each other. We couldn't shift into our wolves because we feared that we wouldn't be able to control them right now. They were both hurt and aggressive, a deadly combination. I felt like I could kill somebody just by looking at them right now. Asher could do so much more. It was better that I had control. Beta Andrew? I heard a voice in my head. It was the guard that stayed at the pack house. Yes, Mark? I linked him back. Amy Johnson is here looking for you. She says it is urgent and she needs to talk to you right now. He said. Does she know something about Emma? I asked, my heart rate picking up. They were best friends. Emma could have told her something. Amy might knew where she was. I couldn't believe that we haven't talked to her or Jacob already. We totally forgot about that. All I wanted to do was run to the forest and follow her scent. When we searched the house, we found Emma's phone and all the important stuff. She didn't take any money or her credit card with her. She ran away with the clothes she had on her. She didn't even have a jacket. I knew because I counted all her jackets. She was out here somewhere, and she was cold. She says yes, Beta. Mark answered. I grabbed Logan's arm, startling him. Mark linked me. I said, excitedly. Emma's friend Amy is at the pack house. She wants to talk to me. She knows something about Emma. His eyes widened, and we both started running back to the pack house. It felt like we had been running for hours, but it had only been about 15 minutes. We weren't that far out in the woods. We both ran inside. Amy was sitting on a couch, talking to Aunt Gloria. They looked up at us, and I saw sadness in their eyes. Sit down, boys, Aunt Gloria said quietly. Logan and I exchanged looks, and did as she said. I was shaking and I could see Logan clenching his fists. What do you know, Amy? Logan asked. Where is Emma? I don't know where she is, she said quietly. But I do know who took her. Logan and I looked at each other, confused. She wasn't taken, Amy. I said. She ran away. Amy shook her head. No. She would never do that. She would never do that to you, Andrew. Even if she had hit Sienna, she would have stayed and taken her punishment. But she didn't hit her, and she didn't run away. Did the Rogue King find out about her? Did he take her? I looked at Logan and I knew he was thinking the same thing. It was Sienna. Amy said after neither Logan nor I spoke. I narrowed my eyes at her. Logan growled. Be careful, Amy. Logan said. You are accusing a future Luna. I know, Alpha, she said calmly. And I still stand by what I said. Sienna is a terrible person. She has been bullying Emma for a very long time now. It started with insults and hurtful words. But after she found out that Emma was Alpha Logan's mate, she took it to another level. I started shaking. Asher was growling. My heart was beating a mile a minute. What do you mean, Amy? Logan asked, his voice trembling. Do you remember that day when we were at the diner, and you walked in, and Emma was covered in bruises and scrapes? Those were from a training session. But she also had a big bruise on her hand. Do you remember that? She asked. Logan and I both nodded. She didn't get that at the session, Amy said. Sienna slapped her that day, and when Emma fell down, Sienna stepped on her hand with her heel. Logan and I started growling so loud that Amy and Aunt Gloria had to cover their ears. I saw red. I would kill Sienna. That is not all. Amy said. We focused back on her, but we continued to growl quietly. What else did do to Emma? She threatened to kill her if she didn't back away from Alpha Logan. Amy said, tears falling down her face. The day after she broke her ribs, Sienna came to her room and attacked her. She lied to you. She didn't walk into her desk. Sienna grabbed her left side, breaking her ribs all over again. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. She tried to tell me, and I didn't believe her. If Sienna really did something to her, it was completely my fault. Alpha Logan, Beta Andrew, please don't believe Sienna. Amy said, sobbing. She did something to her, and if we don't find her, she will kill her. I know it. Chapter 24 Denial. Logan POV. I didn't want to believe that what Amy was telling us could be true. Sienna was a good person. She would never do these things. I looked at Andrew. He was staring at Amy with a pained expression on his face. I knew that he didn't want to believe it either. We didn't want to believe our friend was a bad person. I couldn't let myself believe it. That would mean I put my mate in danger. And I didn't do that. I could never do that. Amy was wrong. She had to be wrong. Logan, honey, look at me, my mom spoke. I looked up at her. She was crying. Honey, I know you don't want to believe it, she said. I know you will blame yourself for not seeing it sooner. But it is not your fault. She fooled all of us. She turned to Andrew. Andrew, sweetie, it is not your fault either. You have been the best big brother. Your parents would be so proud of you. You made Emma into the amazing person she is today. Sienna tricked you. She played her part perfectly. You couldn't have known. I didn't think my brain was working. I could hear my mom. I could see her. I could hear Amy sobbing. I could see Andrew shaking. But it felt like I was looking at all of them through thick glass. I couldn't clear my mind. Amy. I heard a man's voice behind me. I turned around and saw Jacob. Amy ran to him, and he hugged her tightly. His cold, angry gaze was going from me to Andrew. He walked toward us, clenching his fists. If something happens to her, I want you to know it is your fault, he growled, looking at both of us. How many times did she try to tell you about that? You didn't believe her once. If she is dead, her blood is on your hands. I was staring at him, frozen, speechless. He should be punished. I was his alpha. He couldn't speak to me like that. From the corner of my eye, I saw Andrew getting up. He walked up to Jacob and punched him straight in the nose. I heard bones breaking. My mom and Amy gasped loudly. Jacob was growling, blood coming out of his nose. Take that back. Andrew is yelling. She is not dead. I ran to him and grabbed him from behind, locking my arms around him. She is not dead. I tell him. I would feel it. She is alive, Andrew. He was breathing heavily and shaking. He was growling and his whole body was vibrating. I let go of him and he walked away from Jacob. What is going on here? Alpha Drake asked as he walked in. His beta and his 5 warriors were right behind him. Sienna kidnapped Emma, Alpha Drake, my mom said, her voice trembling. Drake clenched his fists, and I could see his jaw twitching. I knew it. She is a lying, he growled loudly. Do you believe them, Andrew? I mind-linked my beta. I don't want to, but I do, Logan. He answered. She told me that Sienna would make a mistake and slip up. She knew something like this was going to happen. She knew and I didn't listen. He continued. I froze in place. I let Sienna manipulate me. I was an alpha and I didn't see a threat that was right in front of me. And my mate was in danger because of it. My shock and denial were quickly replaced with pure rage. I was going to kill Sienna. I was going to rip her apart. I will kill that. I growled loudly, startling everyone. Alpha Logan, I know you are in a state of shock. Drake said, walking up to me. But we need to be calm and collected. You are a great alpha. Remember that. I know this is about your mate, but we can't let Sienna know that we are on to her. Alpha Drake is right. Andrew said, taking a deep breath. I have been trying to think like a beta. She couldn't kill Emma because you would know right away and her story about Emma running away wouldn't be believable. She is keeping her somewhere. And she probably has help. Drake added. Someone is with Emma. You can't feel her wolf and that means they are dosing her with wolfsbane. They are waiting for Sienna's orders. She is planning on killing her, but she is waiting for something. She is waiting for Logan to mark her, my mom said. He wouldn't be able to feel Emma dying if he marked another she-wolf. My heart started beating painfully. My Emma. My mate. I will find you, love. I will do anything to find you. We need to capture her and make her tell us where Emma is. I said. I pushed myself to pull my head out of my ass and start thinking like the alpha I was. My mate was in danger, and she needed me. But we need to make sure she doesn't tip off who is helping her. I added. I need to get her here and take her down to the interrogation room. She won't be able to mind link from there. You think her accomplice is a member of the pack? Andrew asked, raising his eyebrows. We could only mind link with pack members. I don't know. It could be a rogue. But I am not risking. She is going down there. I growled. Andrew, Drake, and I will interrogate her. Jacob, you search Sienna's house. There has to be something there that will tell us where Emma is. Take her parents to the cellars. Question them as well. Cuff them with silver. I don't want them mind-linking anyone if they are on it. Josh will help him. Drake said, and his beta nodded. My mom and Amy were sitting on the couch, holding hands. They were both wiping tears from their faces. Good. I said. Let's go. We are bringing her home. Chapter 25 Interrogation. Logan POV. How do I get that here without her suspecting anything? What do I tell her? I asked, turning to Andrew. Josh and Jacob left to go to her house. They will hide and wait close by. When she arrived here and entered the interrogation room, we would link them to start searching the house. Drake, Andrew, and I were sitting in my living room. Mom and Amy went to the kitchen to make themselves some tea. They needed to calm down a bit. We didn't want Sienna to see them here together and suspect something. Tell her you need her after a long, hard day. Drake said. She is desperate to be yours. She will believe it because she wants to hear it. She will think that her plan of removing Emma from your life is finally working. I nodded and sighed. I feel sick doing it. I want to kill her, not have her over. I know, man. Andrew said. Remember that you are doing this for Emma. I took a deep breath and opened my link with Sienna. Sienna? I linked her. Logan, babe, I am so glad to hear your voice. She said. My stomach twisted at the sound of her voice in my head. Leon was growling. He hasn't stopped doing that since Amy told us about Sienna. He was refusing to talk to me. He was just growling, and I could feel how angry he was. Would you like to come over? I asked. I just came back from the forest, and I could use your company. Of course. She said, excited. I will be there in 15 minutes. Great. I responded. I am in the living room. Let yourself in. I cut off our link and nodded to Andrew and Drake. She will be here in 15 minutes. I said. How will you get her down there? Drake asked. I decided to make it simple. I sighed. I will tell her that I left my phone down there and ask her to come with me to get it. That should be okay. Andrew said quietly. You guys should go there. In case she comes early. I said. They both nodded and got up. They walked out of the living room, and I turned the TV on and pretended to watch. Those 15 minutes it took Sienna to come were the longest of my life. I couldn't stop thinking about Emma. Where was she? Was she cold? Who was with her? Were they hurting her? I would feel if she was hurt, right? The more I thought about it, the more my heart hurt. I heard the front door open, and Sienna's scent hit me. She walked into the living room with a huge smile on her face. I felt pure rage coming on. I wanted to kill her. I needed to kill her. I took a deep breath to control myself and smiled at her. She sat next to me and kissed my cheek. I felt bile rising up. "Did you find Emma?" she asked with a fake sadness in her voice and on her face. How didn't I notice how fake she was? "No, we didn't." I sighed. I guess she really did cross the border. "I feel so sorry for Andrew," she said. She became the one thing he hates. I nodded and looked at the TV to calm myself. I couldn't look at her lying face. She sighed and got comfortable on the couch. "What are you doing?" "I was watching TV," I said. "But just before you came in, I noticed my phone was missing. I think I left it down in the interrogation room. I left the meeting in a hurry when they notified me that you were hurt. I have to go get it. Come with me? I feel peaceful when you are around. Come on, Sienna. Take the bait." She smiled brightly and nodded. "Thank you, goddess." I stood up and took her hand in mine. I pulled her behind me and walked out of the living room. "We are coming." I linked Andrew. My heart was beating hard in my chest, and I hoped Sienna couldn't hear it. We were just outside the interrogation room. I didn't want her to suspect anything and try to mind-link anyone. I opened the door and pulled Sienna in. I closed the door behind us and locked it. I turned around to see a shocked Sienna staring at Andrew and Drake. Andrew looked so annoyed that even I was afraid of him right now. "Andrew? Logan? What is going on?" Sienna asked, turning to me. "Sit down," I said and walked to her. I pushed her to sit and sat beside her. Drake and Andrew took the chairs opposite us. "Where is Emma?" Drake asked. She opened her eyes wider. "Emma? I told you, she ran away." "Cut the crap," Andrew growled. "We know everything you did to her. We know you wanted to get rid of her to have Logan all to yourself. Where is she?" Sienna looked shocked and scared. I don't know what you are talking about." She was lying. I could tell. I looked at the guys and saw that they were thinking the same thing as I was. "Sienna, your house is being searched as we speak," I told her. "Your parents are down here being cuffed with silver and interrogated. It is only a matter of time when we will find something. It would be better if you cooperated." "Let my parents go," she yelled. "I didn't do anything. That attacked me and left the pack, and you are taking her side. She is a rogue. She is a traitor." All three of us growled loudly. I grabbed her by the neck. "You speak like that about my maid again, and I will make you suffer," I said in a voice so cold I could see her shiver in fear. I let her go and sat back down. "I will give you one chance to come clean about everything and tell us where Emma is. If you don't, I will order you to. And I will make it long and painful." Alpha's orders could be painful. Especially if you tried to go against it. But we could make it painful just by increasing the intensity of the order. Even if the wolf wasn't fighting it, it hurt them. I didn't like to use my alpha order on my wolves. When I did, the intensity was minimal, just to remind them who the dominant wolf was. But with this, I would use it as a weapon, and I would enjoy each and every moment of it. "I am not telling you," she growled. "I hope he doesn't listen to me and kills her tonight. He said he would make her his before he did. I hope you feel everything, Logan. I hope you will feel your mate being raped and killed tonight. I saw red. Leon was going insane. He would out and got us help Sienna when he did. But before I could do anything, I heard Andrew's terrifying growl and a fist flew into Sienna's face. She fell off the chair and groaned. Andrew stood up and walked to her, but Drake stopped him. You can't kill her yet, he screamed at him. We need her to tell us everything. I got up and grabbed her. I placed her back on the chair. If I feel one hair being hurt on Emma's head, you will suffer hard. That is a promise. I growled. She looked at me with fear in her eyes. I gave you a chance. You didn't take it. I said. Sienna Jones, I order you to tell me everything you know about the disappearance of Emma Parker, and I order you to tell me where she is. My order was so intense that even Andrew and Drake bowed their heads slightly, even though my order wasn't directed at them and Drake was an alpha and it shouldn't have affected him. But that how strong my order was. Sienna whimpered in pain, but she stared talking. She had no other choice. The rest of the audiobook will be continued in the next episode. Join us on Patreon for early access or more great audiobooks. A link is provided in the video description.